Hello, this is Patrick at OneCNC West, and what I'd like to do is take a close look at the differences between OneCNC Mill Express and OneCNC Mill Advantage. Now, OneCNC Mill Express is going to provide the ability to apply 2.5 axis tool paths, whereas OneCNC Mill Advantage, you're going to have the ability to apply both 2.5 axis tool paths as well as 3 axis tool paths. So right now within OneCNC Mill Express, you can load a solid model in here if you'd like. If we come down here to files of type, and you can see, for example, if we select a step file here, we could grab that step file and we can definitely load that into Mill Express. However, when we come down to stock toolpaths, these are your 2.5 axis machining operations. Now let's compare this now with Mill Advantage. Let's close that solid model file down. Now I'm going to bring up Mill Advantage with a side-by-side comparison with the Command Manager. Over here on the left, this is the Command Manager for Mill Express, and right here, this is the Command Manager for Mill Advantage. And you'll notice there's an additional option here called Model Toolpath. So if I select that, you can see there's your 3-axis machining operations for both roughing and finishing. Let's demonstrate how to use this. I'm going to just take the Mill Advantage user interface here, and I'm just going to drag it just to the left just to give us a little bit more room. I'm going to say that looks good, just like that. And let's open up that same step file. So we're going to come down here to files of type. We'll go to step file, and that's the one we want there. We'll double click on that. So here we are, we're inside of Mill Advantage, and we have our step file loaded. So let's say that we want to rough this out, and let's also demonstrate a couple ways that we can finish this as well. So the first thing I would do when working with a solid model is I would create some boundaries. Fastest way to do that is to use your model tools, and I like to use extract surface edges. Just take your cursor, hover over a surface and left click. As soon as you do that, you're going to instantly have boundaries created along the edges of that selected surface. Very nice. So we can use that to help contain our toolpath. Let's go into our 3-axis roughing, and let's take a look at Z-level rough. That one gets used the most. I'm going to be using a 1/2-inch diameter end mill, turret position number 1. I'm happy with the speeds and feeds, but I also want to point out that when using solids and surfaces, look how the part actually appears inside the dialog box. So you can compare your different clearance planes dynamically against that. Right now my rapid Z plane is 200 thousandths, but if I type in 1, watch how that red grid hops up there. So that's a very nice feature to be able to see your part and also compare your different clearance values. I'm going to put that back down to 200 thousandths on that though. We'll click next on that. Now within Mill Advantage, the strategy you're going to have for removing material is going to be traditional. Whereas if you were looking at a higher level mill system like Mill Professional or Mill Expert, you're also going to have high-speed strategies as well. But in Mill Advantage, you have traditional. So let's take a look at that. We'll click next on that. Different ways to enter into the material. For this demonstration, I'm just going to plunge into the material for this. We're going to spiral inwards. I'm going to climb cut. And for step over 50% of the tool, I'll take 50 thousandths depth of cut. We'll leave 10 thousandths on the side. We don't need any extra depths of cut here, so we're going to leave that alone. We'll click finished on that. And there's the tool path. Now if we want to, we can simulate this. Let's just right hand mouse click and select simulate. I'm going to be using pick a boundary. We'll click OK. I'm just going to left click that rectangular shape we extracted from that surface earlier, and then right hand mouse click. And here we go, here's the roughing operation. So that's Z-level rough, and that's performed within OneCNC Mill Advantage. Now let's take a look at a couple different ways to finish this. Let's head over here to the finishing category. Let's start with Z-level finish. So with this, I'm going to be using a 1/4-inch diameter ball end mill, and I already have that selected, turret position number 2. I'm happy with the speeds and feeds on that. Again, we have our solid model within our dialog box. Our clearances look good, so we're going to click next on that. I'm going to use a radial approach for each depth of cut, and for the radial radius, why don't we use 100 thousandths on that? So we'll climb cut, we'll click next. Depth of cut, I'm going to change that to 10 thousandths. We're going to leave 0 for the finish, and I'm happy with the 2/10 tolerance on that. So we'll click next. I am going to tell OneCNC to find flat areas here just to make sure we get a depth of cut right at the flat levels. So we'll click next on that. And for this, I'm going to use pick a boundary, and our depth of cut looks good. So I'm just going to left click that boundary, and there is the finish operation. Okay, let's quickly simulate both of these. Simulate rest. Pick a boundary, left click. So there's our roughing. Let's zoom in a little bit. And then here's our finishing operation. And remember, this is taking 10,000ths per depth of cut. Very, very nice. All right, all within OneCNC mill advantage. Now, let's take a look at another finishing operation. Let's take a look at planar finish. Planar finish is going to be taking the tool and moving it parallel with either the x-axis or the y-axis, or you can really define an angle if you want to as well. But I'm going to use the exact same tool, 1/4 inch diameter ball end mill, and our clearances look great. And I'm going to be just moving along parallel to the x-axis. So I have a toolpath angle here set at 0. Leave for finish 0, and my step over is going to be 20,000ths, and I'm going to climb cut. So we'll click next. This looks fine. Let's click finish and let's grab our boundary. And you can see the difference between the toolpath here. In fact, let's turn this machining operation off by left clicking here. And now let's perform a simulate. So we're going to see our roughing, and then we're going to see a different type of finishing. So again, here's our roughing. Let's slow this down a little bit. These different colors represent the different tools being used. And I've temporarily suppressed the Z-level finish, so we're going to be taking a look at planar finish now. Planar finish in this case is going to take the tool and it's going to machine parallel to the x-axis, and that's what we're seeing here. And because I told it to climb cut, after each pass it's pulling the tool up and then coming back over again. This would not be the recommended tool path for this particular part, but I wanted to show you the different finishing strategies available within OneCNC Mill Advantage. Alright, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. The differences between OneCNC Mill Express and OneCNC Mill Advantage is that OneCNC Mill Express is going to provide 2.5 axis machining, whereas OneCNC Mill Advantage is going to provide both 2.5 axis and 3 axis machining. Thanks again, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.